Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So we're doing a little middle of November hangout session. Just let me get this out on Twitter. If you're in the chat, let me know you can hear me. We got a bunch of extra questions from Twitter today. You can hear good. Howdy to Switzerland, Walnut Creek, California, Nebraska. Awesome. All right, let me get this shared and we'll go from there. I'm sure there's a more effective way to do this. Des Moines, Pennsylvania, Colorado, Washington, Austin, Brazilian. Yeah, our guys are pretty much the same. That's, yeah. Okay. All right, then I'm going to pull this up on the phone so I can answer questions. Gainesville, Florida. How are things going down there? So football is paused again. Fantastic. All right. Pensacola, Florida, right up the road. Glasgow, Scotland. Man, I love all these different places. Voting third party. I'm going to have a video about that soon because there was a lot of questions. There's the ability to vote strategically. So, wow, y'all are hearing my phone. All right, turn that down. Vote straight line anti-R. There you go. And see, that's the thing is you can get you can get votes for your preferred candidate, which for most people watching this is going to be Biden, or you can get people to not vote for his main opposition, which would be Trump. And that still widens the definition and the size of the landslide that everybody's kind of hoping for. How bad do you think things will get? I'm hoping not bad. Why do the lockers look like they're melting? This is a paper. This is a backdrop. I've used this in a couple, and I had to set it up again for the long format stuff that we're doing. Oh, so we're really close to that. We actually just wrapped up filming on the first piece, and I'm kind of taking Panama City, Florida, also right down the road. Cool. Kind of taking tonight easy because I'll be going on the road soon to head out to I don't want to tell y'all. That's going to be a surprise. I'm going to go on the road soon. So I want to take a little break. Thank you, Brian Nelson. Isn't this hope against hope time? Yeah, kind of. Punk side, thank you. Glad you're here. Somebody can moderate that because I have no idea how to do it, really. Coming to Vegas. Eventually, yes, that's on our list of places that we're going to go to, but not this time. Terrified and frustrated here in Michigan. Yeah, I believe it. I can definitely imagine it is tense there. Palms. My internet connection is okay. Well, we may end up having to do this later. Will your beard be mask appropriate? Going out. Yeah, we actually went through and set up all the logistics. We will go on the road, and I will have contact with absolutely nobody. All things going according to plan. I'm hoping all of this is still coming through. I just got a little note saying that we're having connection difficulties. So that's fantastic. It's normally more JPEG Bo. All content, no resolution. Connection's fine. All right. And I'm back kind of good. All right. Well, hopefully that will help. Can you name 3 good things each candidate has achieved in office? No. I do think that, like I said, I've said before, I think that Trump had the right approach when it came to North Korea. I just think that he was not the person to do it. Thank you, Brandon Dodson. Bo has left the building. Wow. Yeah, we're definitely having connection issues. But thank you, Robert V. Have you seen the Swiss cheese model making the rounds, like diversity of tactics? I haven't. I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you, Vegan Lee. You look like it's cold. Yeah, so tonight is apparently girls' night out, and it's at my house. So I don't know what's going on, and they've set the temperature kind of down. A message for all of us: have courage and faith. We will get through this eventually. Tie a knot and hang on for life. Fact. Thank you, War Baby. Thank you, Dave Rollins. So if Trump gets beat and does leave the U.S., should we assist Interpol and deliver him to her? Yeah, if he leaves the U.S., he has warrants. So I don't know that he's going to do that. It sounds great, but he would have to he'd basically have to take a private flight to Russia and trust Putin not to hand him over. Thank you, Stuart Burnett. Hey, Bo, here's a pint on me. Cheers from Scotland. If I ask anything, it probably how are you feeling about Georgia and Texas? Good about Georgia. I think that's possible. I just see Texas flipping as being really unlikely. I mean, it's theoretically looking at the polls, it's within the realm of possibility. I'm just not putting a lot of faith in that one. But I definitely believe that Georgia is in play. Can you give your thoughts on current discourse about adult activities for pay in a post-capitalistic society? Okay, so there's a lot of people who like to frame that as something that only occurs under capitalism. That's just not accurate. It's been around forever under every economic system we've ever had. I think we should focus more on making sure that it isn't an option of last resort, making sure that if anybody's engaged in it, it's what they actually want to do. That would be ideal. It's not something that's going to go away. Prohibition isn't going to stop it. I don't even think if all economic considerations were taken care of, that industry would go away. I don't. There's always going to be a market for that. Always. It doesn't matter the economic system. Thank you, BitJam. What do I think about the guys in Michigan and the Second Amendment? It's funny. I actually had a conversation with somebody about this yesterday. And another very ardent Second Amendment supporter that's kind of like, at this point, the people who actually understand the Second Amendment aren't the people with guns. And I've never seen a pro-gun group turn so many people away from guns in my entire life. You have actual Second Amendment supporters being like, you know what, take them. Just do it. Let's limit what's in circulation. Just out of spite is really what it boils down to. I don't think there was a philosophical shift there at all. Thank you, Jurgen. Yeah, I know Thoughts Line. I'm familiar with his work, their work. Sorry. Yeah, I think I've invited him to come on the channel, I think. Thank you, Frackle. You're an inspiration, Bo. Your voice gave me confidence to start a platform of my own. That is awesome. Thank you, oh darn. Congrats on making 1,000 good videos. Yeah, that's what I would like. Thank you, Rob. Yeah. Let's see here. Actually broke your hammer the other day. It wasn't great in real life. Yeah, it's an analogy. It's not always good in every situation. A slime collaboration would be amazing. Yeah, I'd like to do that. Somebody mentioned doing a being the correspondent in the field for Cody over on some more news. I would do that too. I think that would be entertaining. Thank you, Vidar. Hey, Bo. Girlfriend Brittany and I are listening to you in the hospital, hoping my first kid comes today. Any advice for us? You need to go to sleep now. And because you're not going to sleep for like the next 6 years. Now you'll figure it out. I mean, yeah, it's hard, but it's not. It's not. I don't want to say it's not as hard as people say it is, because it is, but it's a different kind of hard. You come to enjoy it. You will figure everything out along the way. If you were the least bit concerned and looking for advice, you're going to do fine. Thank you, Deca Dude. How many times can you violate principles for the sake of being pragmatic before you don't have any principles anymore? I think that would be based on the individual and how committed they are to their principles. There are some people that I think that if they violated and they were pragmatic just once, that they would lose it all. And then there are some people who can do it over and over again to extremes and come back and still be trying to move in that direction. Thank you, your mom. What do I think of Jimmy Dore? Don't know enough to have a solid opinion, to be honest. Thank you, Lauren Russell Pank. Keep on doing what you're doing, Bo. Thank you. Thank you, Evie. Thank you. Thank you, JD McLucas. Thanks for keeping us sane. Question: do you think that Ohio is a lost cause? Being from Pennsylvania, the differences are stark. I don't know. At this point, there are a couple of states where it's literally all about voter turnout, where the population seem to be pretty close together, and it can go either way, just depending on how many people show up. I've got insomnia, so I'm prepared for that part. Thanks for doing. Yeah, you'll be fine. Just remember, it's a process. You're not going to have everything right the first time. You're going to get diapers that the kid won't like. You're going to, if you're going to use formula, you'll find formula that they won't drink. There's going to be setbacks. Just roll with it and enjoy it. Thank you, Robert V. Swiss cheese. Each intervention, cloth mask, social distancing, vaccine is a slice of cheese with holes in it. The virus can pass through together. Heart. Yeah. I mean, that's a good analogy. Thank you, James Wesley. Much respect. Got to support the good guys. My favorite part of my day is finding a new video. Yeah, I took today off, kind of. I mean, obviously not really, because I'm here, but I didn't film anything last night. Thank you, Caper. Thank you, Christopher Foley. Thank you, Matt Whaley. If given the opportunity to join a presidential cabinet, would you take the opportunity, and what would it be? It would depend on what I was being asked to do. There are certain things that I think, yeah, I'd be okay at, and I wouldn't have a problem doing if the policies that I wanted to do were the policies that the president would enact. Like if example, if somebody was like, hey, we need an undersecretary for DHS to deal with shutting down the camps, men to continue running them, I wouldn't. It would depend on a whole lot of factors. But I'm not opposed to giving advice. Thank you, Skywalker. Thank you, Michelle. Do I think that Bradshaw actually has a shot? This Tennessee Senate race. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's always a chance. Again, that's one of those states where there's the traditional way of thinking, and then there's the turnout. And if the increase in turnout is because people are really upset with Trump, every state's in play, really, because turnout is high across the board. Thank you, Elizabeth Holt. Thank you, Josh Lynch. Josh Lynch, Rule 303, should Batman take out Joker? I actually have a video coming up about this. So I'm not going to answer this, but only because I have a video that I'm working on talking about Batman. Well, not Batman, but anyway, it's coming. I haven't done anything that wasn't super serious in a while, and that was what I decided to go with. Thank you, Keith. Do you believe that if Biden wins, there will be... it's doing the thing where it jumps around again. Great. Do you believe that if Biden wins, there will be any progressive changes that make difference, or will be more like fascism light? I think it'll roll back the worst aspects of the Trump administration, and that is enough to choose between the two. Do I expect real progressive changes? No, not coming from the presidency. However, he's less of a hindrance in getting them moved forward. So I don't think that we're going to see a lot of original, unique, exciting, progressive ideas come from Biden. But if they surfaced elsewhere, I don't think he would stand in the way. Let's see. The Vigilante. It was a hit job carried out by presidential. See, I know what you're saying. I heard it too. And yeah, that's what it sounds like. The problem is it's Trump. I can't take anything that he says at face value, even if it's something I believe is possible. I don't know that they were out for retribution at that point. It's possible. It's not something I would say is just not an option, but I can't just base that on Trump's statement. I don't think it would be fair to disregard 90% of what he says because he's a known liar, but then suddenly accept it at face value simply because it's something I agree with. Thank you, Matt Higgins. Are you at all encouraged by the numbers of early votes? Yes. Yeah, I am. Of course, for all we know, it's a giant fraud scheme by Trump. But assuming everything's going normally, yeah, I am. High voter turnout is typically good for the progressive side. Roaming Gnome, thank you. Checking in from South Florida with the beard of knowledge. Thank you, your mom. Malcolm X talked about the lesser of two evils in the 60s. Yeah. But I would say you're not looking to Biden to win. You're choosing your opposition. You're choosing the person that you're going to be working to overcome. And it seems like it would be easier to overcome Biden than Trump. Thank you, Joey. Been watching you for a year. Love the stuff. Thank you from New Jersey. Your thoughts on the Cali GOP and their fake ballot boxes? I have mixed emotions. I don't have a problem with people assisting getting the vote out. Now, the problem that I have with this is that I don't know that they're going to be doing it fairly or securely. It doesn't seem like it. But in principle, I don't have an issue with what they're doing. It's more the way they're doing it. Thank you, Taylor Martin. Thank you, Monica. Expat in Amsterdam. Love this community. These internet people are the best, and you make it happen. Is there any way we can stop ACB? Anything? It seems unlikely. If they're moving forward with her after she couldn't name the elements of the First Amendment, they're going to confirm her no matter what. At which point, I'll be honest, the second I saw that didn't impact their decision making, I no longer have an issue if they decide to pack the court and they decide to expand it, or they decide to reduce it and eliminate the least senior people, which would be my move. Thank you, Luke. Thanks for your perspective. It's been very valuable for me as a confused and concerned observer from Switzerland. Yeah, I can imagine that looking from the outside into the U.S. and comparing it to what the U.S. has typically been and seeing this is disheartening. It certainly is from the inside. Thank you, Josh Lynch. Thank you, Spike Love. We need other options on the ballot. If other wins, we have no president for 4 years. Thank you, Tech Fan. What are your thoughts on those official ballot boxes? I just answered that. In case you didn't hear it, I don't have a problem with them in principle, but I don't like the way they're being done. In and of themselves, collecting votes and helping people vote isn't a bad thing. Helping people get their voice out isn't a bad thing. However, I don't necessarily trust the way it's being done. 50 Shelfie. Thank you. Thank you for educating me in a no-nonsense way about politics. I seriously thought about writing your name in on my ballot. One of my big fears is that somebody's going to do that in some tiny, jurisdiction somewhere, and I'm going to end up sheriff in some town I've never been to. Thank you, all set. Thank you, Senator Huey Long. Thank you, firstcoast.tv. Thank you, Terry Walsh. Thank you, Rusty Braids. Knowledge will forever govern ignorance, and a people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power which knowledge gives. Fact. Would you say the Republican Party has ruined itself and the respect it had? Yeah. I think they made a huge mistake, and I think they made a bigger one by not holding them accountable. Light customer, thank you for all you do. How are you today? I'm doing great, honestly. I'm having a very mellow day. Thank you, Joshua Brown. Thank you, E. Jacob France. Texas has been blue before. Yes, it has. Can they actually remove justices? Congress actually has a lot more power in this than I think people know. There's a lot that can be done to rebalance that after what's been pulled. Now, whether or not the Democrats have the desire to actually wield the power that hopefully they'll have in a couple of months, that's an entirely different question. I don't have a lot of faith in their ability to go as hard at the Republicans and at restoring things as I would like them to. Thank you, Robert Finney. How do you think Trumpers will react on November 4th with a massive Trump defeat? I have no clue. I do think there will be some sporadic violence, to be completely honest. But I don't think there's going to be a lot. But I don't know. There's so much there. Why do you think it is that most of your non-U.S. viewers are from Germany? Because we have a lot of U.S. military bases there. I think that has a lot to do with it. Let's see. Thank you, Rodamy. Thank you, Matt Higgins. It's so sad that I have a better political mind than the president's team, right? Maybe campaign management is in my future. Do it. Pick somebody from pick somebody from the chat and run them. See what happens. Thank you, Bose. Will lawsuits put Trump in jail after the presidency? Not lawsuits, but there are possible criminal charges that could. He's got a lot on his plate after he leaves office. Thank you, Osamushi. Good night from Spain. Wish we had a you here. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Charles. Hey, Bo, have you seen HBO's Watchmen or Lovecraft Country? I'd never heard of 1921 prior to watching it. The Tulsa 1921. I actually haven't watched. I watched Watchmen. I have not seen Lovecraft Country. However, everybody keeps telling me to, so I may put that on my list. Thank you, LJ. Thank you, David Bean. Thank you, Super Catman. Greetings from snowy Montana. With COVID spiking here, county officials are issuing new regulations, but one county has refused to do anything. Our congressman attended a big concert, just venting. Yeah, I feel you. I'm here in Florida where our governor's walking around giving high fives and then rubbing his face. So I have no idea. It's out of control. Thank you, Michael Giza. How do we find good firearms training centers? I would go, hopefully try to find a combat vet and learn from them rather than at a school, because there's a lot of limitations that occur when you're talking about training for real, not just marksmanship. There's a lot of limitations that occur with commercial training facilities, stuff you can't do because of liability. Do I think that identity politics is a dog whistle? Not necessarily. There are people who use it in the exact opposite manner that people trying to dog whistle would be trying to signal. It can be, but I don't think it's a universal one. Thank you, T. Williamson. Thank you, Star Search Reject. Just saying hi. Thank you for being a voice of reason. Jen from North Florida. Thank you, Professor. Do you think a new Victory Garden movement will be effective at unifying communities as well as fight climate change? Yes. Plant your yard. Yes. It's something I've advocated for a long time, actually separate from climate change. It's just something people need to do to be sustainable, not even just even in an economic sense and in a common sense way, aside from all of the environmental impacts. That's one of those things that's good on pretty much every level. Why won't you run for office? I don't even want to be president of a homeowners association. I don't think I can run your life better than you can. Thank you, Blagamuffin. Thank you, Crystal Cunningham. Hi, Bo. Thank you for the information you provide. Are you concerned about disruptive poll watchers this year? Maybe, but I don't. I'm not sure, because there's an upside to this in a weird way. I don't think that people are going to take them too seriously. I don't think they're going to intimidate many people. And in many states, doing what some of them are talking about doing is a felony, which, if you're talking about somebody who's going to carry a gun around to try to intimidate people from voting, maybe they shouldn't have a gun. So I actually see a silver lining to something that's going to be annoying, but not necessarily hugely detrimental, and it's going to have a positive outcome in the end. Thank you, Rob Roster. Thank you, Randy Man. I'm broke, but have a buck. Thanks. Thank you, Phil Watts. Are you worried about what the Trump administration will do between election and inauguration day, provided that happens? Yeah, there's a lot of damage he can do in a lame duck. I'm hoping that if the landslide is big enough, the Republican Party won't just accede. But I don't know what I'm basing that hope on, because they've pretty much done whatever he wanted the entire time. Thank you, Muffin Hydro. What are the chances Dems will scorch and salt the earth at the end? I don't know. I mean, that honestly, at this point, after the last nominee, that would be my attitude. I don't know that they have the political will to do it. I think they very well may end up with the power to do it, but I don't know that they have the will to go ahead and actually act on it. Thank you, David Garrick. Thank you, Martle the Faithful. Does conservative, screaming, radical, progressive, socialist, whatever about Biden take any heat off of real progressives? I don't know. Yeah, this is something I've thought about a lot, to be honest. Like, because they're so confused as to what a progressive or radical or socialist is. I don't know if it's helpful or harmful, to be honest. Thank you, Greg Vetter. Thank you, Anna. Anava. Anna. No. What are your thoughts on releasing prisoners early because of the public health thing? In my town, a prisoner murdered a woman and then killed a pedestrian during a high-speed chase. Does the minority not ruin it? I think that I don't think there's a blanket answer for that. Like with anything with criminal justice, I think if possible, people should be released. If there's an outbreak and they're negative, then yeah, you should get them out of there. I don't, but there are some people that you can't do that with, not in our current system. So I don't think there's a one size fits all answer here, and I think that's the problem that people are trying to come up with something easy rather than something effective. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Mud Dog. Thank you, Tia Maria. Why are the Republicans willing to sacrifice their supporters since they discourage them from taking reasonable measures? I have no clue. This is one of the things I've thought about. Like, every one of these rallies that they have, the people that go to them are already going to vote for them. That's why they're there. And odds are some of them won't make it to election day because they went to the rally. They're lowering their own voter turnout. I don't know why they're doing it. I don't understand it. As a Canadian, I hope things start to settle down there. Yeah, me too. And that, honestly, that's what I feel like I'm living in right now. Thank you, Liza. Thank you for your lucidity during these times. Thank you, Maharum. Yeah, I'm sure I butchered that. I apologize. If Biden wins the popular vote and Trump exploits the federal and state constitutions to the fullest, who do you think will win? I have a little bit of faith in the electors, in that playing out the way it should rather than the way it could. And I don't know that it will be. I don't know that it will be effective, even if he goes that route. Thank you, Fredo. Question: what do you recommend we do if we encounter poll watchers that may be intimidating voters? First, wear nondescript clothing. Don't give them any reason to talk to you. Don't wear something that clearly identifies you as a liberal or a leftist or a progressive at all. Just ignore them. If they talk to you, smile, say, yeah, play along with it, walk past, and move on. Because they are, while I don't think that most are out to actually do anything other than stand around and live out their G.I. Joe fantasies, some of these guys are not the type that should be armed in public. So I would exercise a lot of caution. What's your take on ranked choice voting? and how would you sway a conservative on it? Maine's doing it for the presidential election and was the first state to adopt it. I'm in favor of it generally. I think it's a good idea. And as far as swaying a conservative on it, I would frame it as if it could help them, because realistically, most of the people who are against it haven't taken the time to really look into it too much, because there's really not a downside to it. It's one of those things where you're like, hey, this actually helps better democracy. This helps better representation. I don't see why this would, be a bad thing to anybody. So I would just kind of play on the idea that it might split the liberal vote. Go with that if you're trying to reach a conservative, because that's probably where they're going to look for it anyway. Thank you, LF. Thank you, Mary. The whole world is interested in what's happening in the U.S., not only Germans from Switzerland. Thank you, Conversations from the Fringe. Hi, Bo. I finally watched Bowling for Columbine, and they brought up the stark difference in gun violence around the world compared to the USA. Thoughts? I would suggest you also just look at violence and look at those numbers. You're going to see that same thing going on there. It's not just gun violence that's higher in the U.S., it's violence in general. Thank you, Julie. Voted in Kansas today. Pray we turn blue. 45 minutes in line. Wow. Thank you, Latricia. Thank you, Pierce. What are your thoughts on the American public's lack of value in international relations, and how can we possibly make this more valued? I think eventually people are going to have to kind of step up their game on that and understand that we are not an island. We're not alone. And that the United States, wow, I'm sorry, I've got some stuff going on around me. While the United States is a powerful nation, it's powerful because of its alliances, because of the things it's done on the international stage. And when we pulled back away from that is when we became weak. Thank you, MKJO. No need to thank me. Thank you. Thank you, SM. Greetings from Idaho. We're trying to retire GOP Senator Jim Rich and send Paulette Jordan to the Senate. Appreciate your work. Stay well. Thank you, Matt Higgins. I would argue your lack of wanting office makes you perfect for office. Yeah, that may be true, but there's other people that don't want it. So let's roll with them. Thank you, Ellie. You've made me less scared. Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you for what you do. Oh, your voice is critical right now. Cheers. Cheers to you. Thank you, Luna Lazul. Thank you, Mud Dog. Thank you, Bad Pirate Monkey. I love saying that screen name. I don't know why. First, Mr. Rogers. If they come for Cookie Monster, I'll lose it. Yeah. The Mr. Rogers thing, man, that hit me in the soul. That was a gut punch, to be honest. I'm like, no. That's where I draw the line. Thank you, Alex. Hey, Bo, my girlfriend's brother is a hard Trumper and takes in all the propaganda. How should I approach him after Trumpism dies out? I think there's going to be a long period in which we have to quite literally deprogram people and show them that a lot of the stuff they believed isn't true. It is factually wrong, not on the ideological aspects of it, but focus on the fact that they are missing elements of fact, things that can't be argued. and move that route with it. I think that's going to be easier than try to say, hey, you're wrong because of this, and try to frame, hey, you need to be a good person. I think it's easier to say, this is something he said that you believed. This is objectively wrong, and here are the facts. Do you think the FBI will be waiting outside the White House? I don't know. I don't know that he has. I don't know that there's going to be federal charges waiting for him. I think that may occur later. When you go on the road, are you going to be in Atlanta? At some point, Atlanta is on our list. Right now, we're hitting places that we can do safely in the middle of this giant mess. Please answer a question from fan outside the U.S. Do you people of U.S. feel like when corruption is supported by power, do you know what your government did to poor countries? The people watching this channel know what our government does to other countries. As far as the U.S. as a whole, I don't know. I don't know that that's something that everybody's aware of. Most people in the U.S. have an image of the U.S. as people who go places to help, and they don't understand a lot of the negative aspects that comes with the help that the U.S. brings. Thank you, Rachel Smith. What is going on in Armenia and Azerbaijan? Something that at this point I don't see an end to anytime soon. I think it's. I was hopeful in the beginning that this would just be another flare-up that lasted a week or two. It doesn't look like it's going to be that way. That may turn into a regional war. That's not good. That's going to be bad in a lot of ways. Thank you, Alex Hannah. I watched your video on guns, still quite unclear to me. Isn't it more likely people with guns will cause intense violence, not the government? Historically speaking, no. Historically speaking, their governments always cause more violence. Now, the difference is when it happens and it's an individual, it's more dramatic and people see it, and they don't give the individual the presumption of innocence when they do something like that, whereas they often will with the government. So it's not that line of reasoning as far as which causes more violence. It's always going to land on the government side causing more. There are better arguments for limiting access to firearms. Thank you, Sobek. Just wanted to say you've inspired me to be less huge. My dogs are over there fighting, and more understanding and logical and political discourse, to be more understanding. The urge to fight still boils beneath, though, at times. Yeah, that's something that will it's going to happen. I mean, I sit there and I try to remain calm, but it's easy for me to always appear calm because I get to wait before I go make a video. People talk about that and they mention that at times, but at the end of the day, I get to take a break before I respond. When you're out and about and you see somebody doing something or acting in a way that offends you, you don't always have the time to take a minute. Carly R., you should just repeat every minute or so that you don't think Texas will turn blue, since people keep asking. I don't. It's possible, but I don't see it as incredibly likely. Thank you, David Wilbur. You said you won't run for office because you can't run my life better than me. While I may agree with you, someone's going to. Why not run on harm reduction? Nice. Throw my own stuff back at me, huh? I don't know that that's. Yeah, I would probably be less harmful than others. But aside from that, politicians at times have skeletons in their closet. I've got a graveyard. I'm not sure that I'm not sure that I'm the candidate. I don't know that I'd vote for me. uh, thank you, Charlene. Apparently, some MAGA people are saying if Biden wins, they'll flee to Canada. Yeah, have fun with that. Yeah, you're right. They're way more liberal up there. That's great. Do it. Make sure you leave those 30-round mags at the border. Thank you, Malinka 303. Nice. Thanks so much for your channel. Got me involved. Thank you. Thank you, Gilbert Gaines. How can Mitch McConnell be ahead in his election with 19% statewide approval rating? R, the letter R. People are very tribalistic, and they'll vote for an R. I think if you want to get a Republican out there, you're going to need to run a strong libertarian candidate at the same time as a very centrist Democrat. That's the only way you're going to be able to do it. You've got to split their vote and give some people something to cross for. I live in West Virginia. Your videos have been great tools to kind of get to the demographic here. Yeah. I think that area, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, I think that I've probably had more of an impact there than anywhere else, just because of the way I look. Is it illegal for Trump or Biden campaign to bribe electors to vote for them? Yeah. That doesn't mean they won't do it, but yeah, it's illegal. Let's see. Thank you, Erica Johnson. Thank you, James. Do you think a third or fourth actual contending political party is what's needed to change American politics? Do you think a third party can win the presidency? I do not think a third party can win a presidency this time. And yeah, I would like to see more parties. I'd like to see no parties, to be honest, but I think it would be helpful. If we can't have none and everybody have to run on their own merits, it will, more would be better. Thank you. Cops aren't the bad guys. You're going to get some, you're going to get some negative response to that screen name. It says Unity. Thank you, Go Shank. Greetings from Ohio. Thank you, Sean Brewer. Hey, Bo, I live in a small California city that is pro-Trump that I call the Kentucky of Southern California. I'm actually worried about what some of these people are going to do if Trump loses. Yeah, yeah. It is. There are people that are heavily emotionally vested in this and armed and not rational, and that's a worry. But I'm hoping, and I don't think the violence would be widespread. Thank you, Coco. Do you think our little pathetic governor, and it's funny, you put the name here. You didn't have to. I know who you were talking about. Do I think DeSantis will try to steal Florida? And did you notice the new law allowing drivers to run over protesters? Yeah. I think he might try, but I think a lot of establishment Republicans are seeing how much risk they're exposing themselves to. And while they don't care about the country, they do care about themselves. So I'm hoping that they will, they'll kind of rein some of this in. But again, I don't have a lot of faith in these guys anymore. Thank you, Gary English. Thank you, Stepcat. If you were a CIA operative planning disinformation, first, you will break our hearts. Second, there must be an excellent cause. How do we get you on the good side? Is this? I think that this is asking. I've never worked for the CIA. I think that's what's being asked here. I even when I was a consultant contractor, I never, at least knowingly, I guess I could have without knowing it, worked for that particular agency. Thank you, Shane. Have you thought about reaching out to Joe Rogan? I feel that your objective view on politics would reach a lot of people. I feel weird saying, hey, let me come on your show. I don't normally do that. If I was asked, I probably would. What do we do if Trump effectively wins the Electoral College? I see that as highly unlikely. If the polls are even remotely accurate, Biden will win the Electoral College unless something crazy happens between today and voting time. As far as the polls go for the Electoral College, Biden seems pretty secure, but a close race isn't going to be enough. He needs a landslide. So, okay. Shave the beard at 1 million subs? Unlikely. Unlikely. Let's see. I think we need to resurrect George Carlin and elect him. I'd be okay with electing his corpse, to be honest. But Red Warden Gaming, thank you. Curious as a Mainer, what do you think of ranked choice voting? I like it. I like it. I think it would allow people to vote their conscience a little bit more, and hopefully get some better representation of what people want. Thank you, N. Rivera. Thank you, Dim Studios. Thoughts on Azerbaijan? I'm debating doing a video on that. That's going to have, to get into that, you have a whole lot of history you have to cover. And this is one of those instances where the history is incredibly important. And any discussion that takes place without it isn't going to be effective. It's not going to be helpful. But it's something I'm thinking about. I'm hoping that I can put it off. To be honest, I'm trying to put it off until after the election, and hopefully by then it won't be a thing anymore. Let's see. Thank you, Michael Giza. Didn't ranked choice voting give British nationals part? See, that's okay. When you do that, you're dividing the power base. So even if you were to, in some area, pick an area, get like literal fascists elected that ended up somewhere in the U.S. government, nobody would align with them, and they wouldn't be able to accomplish anything. They're just there. So I don't. That's not a huge worry for me. I think it would be better to have more options and see the extreme views get defeated or get marginal support than it is to just have them all lumped together and then have a major party that actually has power try to cater to that demographic. Thank you, His Excellency. Appreciate you and the forum you provide for dialogue and keeping both sides honest. Plus, thank you. You think Putin is laying the groundwork for Trump to defect and escape justice if he loses, for the low prices from state secrets? I mean, I am certain that Putin would do it. I don't know that it would come to that. I think Trump is actually too arrogant to realize how much trouble he could theoretically be in. How do I deprogram my husband? Watch this channel near him. I'm going to run stuff after the election that is specifically geared towards that demographic of people. So just so you guys are aware, that's going to happen. So there's going to be some videos that come out. If you're not used to the flipped hat ones, there's going to be quite a few coming out right after the election or right after the inauguration, that are specifically tailored to helping people come back to some semblance of normal. Thank you, Robert F. Jobin. I just had a longtime conservative uncle come out in support of Biden. Good. I've been patiently explaining why that's okay in the comments. Thank you, Karen. Do you think Trump plans to leave the country to one without extradition in order to evade arrest for financial crimes? I don't think so, because he'd lose his assets. And I think he's arrogant enough to think he'll beat it. Thank you, Peter Bills. What's your opinion of the World Health Organization saying there are 750 million recovered cases, 1 million dead, resulting in a zero comparable to the flu? I haven't seen that, so I can't really comment on it. I would also point out, though, and that's one of the things that we focus on, is the mortality rate. But there are a lot of lingering permanent side effects and damage that comes from this. So it's not like the flu. There's never going to be a comparison that makes it like the flu, because it's not. You've got neurological damage, you have lung damage, you have a bunch of stuff. So I'm always going to be reluctant to compare it to the flu. The Team Davy, thank you. I recommend you to everyone I can. What do you think of the voter turnout? I'm excited about the voter turnout. And yeah, recommend it. I like it. Last night, let me kind of pause for a second. There's a domestic violence shelter in Wisconsin that had some issues after they took a very good stand. And last night, they lost funding from a county and all of this other stuff. And I was trying to figure out how we could help, how this channel could help. And I don't know if y'all know this, but I actually don't really pay much attention to a lot of the finances. But basically, I was informed last night that if we wanted to, we could actually make up a lot of their lost funding for the year through this type of stuff. And it kind of made me realize what a powerful tool for immediate change this can be. And it seems like I should know that, because we got all the supplies for the hospitals, but everything was happening so quickly. I didn't take the time to think about it. I was busy. But it dawned on me last night that, the reach of this channel has suddenly become more important to me, because I realize that we can affect change in situations like that, where an organization does something right and gets punished by the establishment for it. We can help out. And the cool part about it is somebody else thought the same thing, because by the time I had actually figured everything out and how we were going to do it, and I was getting ready to make contact, I looked and they already had 2 years of funding supplied to them, which again restored my faith in humanity. But the name of that place is Embrace. If you're looking for a place to drop a few bucks, it's called Embrace, and it's a domestic violence shelter in Wisconsin. The point of all of that was, yeah, please recommend the channel. All of a sudden, after last night, I care more about subscribers than I used to. Let's see, Luna Minar, what do you think about Republicans like New Hampshire Chair Jennifer Horn speaking out against Trump and their fellow politicians? Will we see more of that? I think we will, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think it's too late in the game. Thank you, Mud Dog. Thank you, Jorgen. Curious about your mini Beatles t-shirts. Are you a fan of the band? Or do I always miss the relevance? I am a fan. They have sometimes when I'm wearing a shirt for a band, it's specific to one of their songs. So a lot of times it'd be Come Together or Imagine is the reference that's being made with the shirt. Let's see. Thank you, Big Dre. Thank you, New York for Life 12. How do you feel about Andrew Cuomo? Up here, Trumpers hate him, but I think he's a good governor. I got DeSantis down here. Literally anybody's a good governor in comparison. We have the worst governor in the country right now. He's just awful. So asking me about any other governor at the moment, I'm like, they're fantastic. They're amazing. They may not be, but I at least believe that making an effort, which is nice in comparison, um, the Grand Tambourine. Curious, is your occasional use of vague language to get around YouTube censors or to encourage it or to encourage viewers to come to their own conclusion? Also, it's petty, but the A in Nevada, autumn, Nevada, Nevada. So I mispronounced Nevada. Sometimes I use vague language because it's more about the constant use of charged language makes those words mean nothing. So I will use more subtle language because at the end of the day, it actually ends up eliciting more of a reaction because people notice. If I say, Trump killed 210,000 people, they've heard that over and over again. If I say it vaguely and say there were 200,000 bags that got filled, there's a mental image that comes along with that. And I think it's more effective at times. And sometimes I will use terms simply to avoid you using a charged term that's going to elicit a reaction and make people shut down. But yeah, that is definitely intentional. And just so you know, I talk that way in real life too, like in everyday conversation. I try to avoid emotionally charged language as much as I can. Thank you, Alan Kennedy. Have you read The Deficit Myth? I have not. Do you think deficit and debt nonsense will have less power in the future? I do. I think that we haven't been on a standard in a very long time. And I think people are starting to realize that the way they have viewed currency is not necessarily the best way to view it. The problem with a lot of those theories is that people have to understand them for it to actually apply that way, because you can end up undermining the currency's value because it's all about perception. Thank you, Dim Studios. What can we learn from the Crimea conflict? Man, everybody all of a sudden wants to talk about these wars. I would suggest a key thing there is to be leery of revolutionary movements that aren't revolutionary. That's a takeaway that I would have. But thank you, Gus Ward. Would you be interested if some of us sent you some shirt designs for your merch? Yeah, that's cool. Thank you, Danny Valdez. Thank you, Koski Co. Thank you, Shanzi Ji. Thank you, Brian Thompson. What can an incoming POTUS do during the lame duck months? The transition, set things up to fix the stuff that gets messed up. They don't really have any power. And some of the stuff that you would want them to do is actually prohibited. They can't. So, let's see. Thank you, Malinka. Do you think more moderate candidates' political agendas would help the political situation move forward, hopefully closer to the left? I think you need both. This is one of those opinions I have that gets me flack from everybody, but you need a group of people that will not compromise, that are pushing for actual revolution, full scale. We are going to build this utopia, and we're going to do it tomorrow. You need those people out there to keep the ideas alive, to give the ones who are willing to take an incremental approach, to give them a goal to get to. So I think both are actually really important. I know that people want a pattern to follow. The thing is, diversity of tactics is what wins, always. always. We can't lock ourselves into one thing. I see everybody, a lot of people posting their units. I mean, I'm way back. I'm like 15 minutes behind in the chat, but I don't know. Can we see the dogs sometimes? Thank you, Josh Miller. I have some videos in which they're in it. At least Baroness is in one or two of them. Do you have Rambo tunnels? No. Okay. Thank you, Grooms. Do you know what's going on in Nigeria and the NSARS? Okay, this is actually something kind of cool, and this is something worth looking into if you're in the U.S. There is, and I may get some of these details wrong because I'm vaguely aware of some of the organizations involved, and I've just been kind of catching bits and pieces of what's going on. They're having a movement against particular organizations that are, I don't even want to call them law enforcement, state security, let's say, and they appear to be having a lot of impact and a lot of effectiveness. And one of the things that is being pushed over there is a general strike. Speaking of those really extreme ideas, but it's definitely, there's a hashtag. If you're on Twitter, look into it. There's some cool stuff going on over there that people could probably learn a little bit from. Thank you, Ellie. Where can I live that is a bit more rural? Honestly, I just want goats, but still own my uterus. Also, interracial couple. North Florida is pretty good. As far as if you want to get rural and still have some socially progressive policies, although you wouldn't know that with what's going on in Florida right now, Florida is probably going to be one of your best bets. However, understand that, I don't know, 80% of the population has a gun. So if you're incredibly anti-gun, not the place for you. But yeah, those rural areas tend to be more restrictive when it comes to stuff like that, which doesn't make any sense at all because most rural people have the philosophy of what's on your side of the fence is up to you. But when it comes to people, specifically women, they seem to exercise or want to exercise a lot more control. Thank you, Six Square. Bo, what do you think a policy of de-Trumpification looks like? Anybody who suggested a policy decision, not necessarily those who were just following orders, can't believe we're saying this in the US, but if they actively participated in the decision-making process, they're gone and they can't come back. They have to leave. Again, that's something, it's something that we as the people are going to have to do. We're going to have to make sure that these people can't get confirmed. We're going to have to make sure that these people have to leave office because they're not reelected. I don't think we're going to see a national policy about this. Okay. What's bothering me today? Do you think the violence will resemble Italy's years of lead? I hope not. When I say sporadic, I mean sporadic and short-lived, would be my hope. But I would hope it would not be comparable. Thank you, Go Raspberry. You need to be teaching civics nationwide. Working on it. We like I said, we have the new channel coming up. It's going to have longer format content, and we are going to have some civic stuff in it that is going to be a little bit more, hopefully, just as digestible without being so topical. So that we're still going to have a little bit of hang on one second. Sorry, I've just handed a note from the boss here. The point is, we're going to have a second channel coming soon that will have civic lessons on it that hopefully be digestible, but they won't be so topical, so they can still be used at any point in time. The content will stay green, because a lot of times when I weave them into a video, it's about something that a news event that occurred, so people don't go back and look at it again. And just so you know, as I mentioned earlier, it's ladies' night here at the house, and I've been informed. I almost want to read this whole thing. That I've got just a little bit of time left before I need to go. Okay, yeah. Dim Studios, thank you. I live in Syracuse, base of the Green Party, and Howie Hawkins. Knowing my political landscape, it seems more helpful to build at a local level. I think that it's always more helpful to build at a local level. I honestly look at national politics right now as it's a holding action until we can get people there that are really on our side. I don't expect a lot from those at the federal. I expect them to not make it worse. That's really all I'm looking for at this point. I mean, but thank you, Connor C. Thank you, Greg Vetter. But do you ever feel that you're preaching to the choir? No. And I'll tell you why here in a second. Seems to me that the people who need to hear your message the most never will. See, that's something that comes up a lot. But to be honest, I get enough hate mail to know that I'm reaching people that aren't totally receptive to what I'm saying. So I do think that I'm swaying people at times. Yeah. Thank you, Tracy King. Do you think DeSantis can be defeated in his next election? Will Florida hold him accountable? Yeah. Oh yeah. He's got the teachers against him. He's got the farmers against him. I don't think he's got another term in him. Even here, super red area, he's referred to as that idiot in Tallahassee. I mean, I don't think he's going to make it. Like people, you don't even have to say his name. People just know who you're talking about. Thank you, Toby. My husband and I voted in Dallas, Texas on Wednesday, waited in line for over an hour. I am hoping with Travis County having 97% voter registration, and I think the message cut off. I'm going to say that you're hoping for a positive outcome due to the voter turnout, and I would agree that's incredibly possible. I think that's what's happening. I hope it is. Thank you, Vienna Day. What do you think about a Cobb House natural building community network to combat evictions? You'd need the land. I think it's a cool idea, but you'd need the land. You could probably find somebody willing to do that, though, to be honest. That may not be as hard as it sounds initially. Stick, thank you. What damage can Trump having lost do between November and January? A lot. I'm kind of worried about the lame duck season, but at the same time, I'm hoping that Republicans will try to keep him in check, and I don't know why. Dim Studios, thank you. Go on the David Pakman or Kalinsky show, please. Why do people still think Trump is a patriot when he's a traitor? I have no idea. I don't know how anybody can look at that man and think patriotism. I don't. It's actually mind-boggling to me. Thank you, Billy the Cat. Night Watcher's Pet. Yeah, armed and irrational factors a massive concern here. Yeah, it should be. Robert F. Jobin, thank you. What are your thoughts of reply plus block to debunk people on public Facebook pages? Yeah, I've seen that described as a tactic. It seems to work. They continue to get mad and post stuff afterwards, but I've watched people use it. It seems effective. see, and thank you, HLGP. Did I just skip over a whole bunch? Did I miss something here? Seems like I did. I had it jump. Okay, so hang on. Left-wing vets on Twitch are doing an all-day election stream and looking for lefty guests. I think you'd be great on their show. I actually plan on doing a live stream on election day, like the whole day. Okay, so we've had a technical issue here, and I may have missed a whole bunch of questions. If it's true, does Gina is there a rumor that Bloody Gina resigned? Gina Haspel, for those who don't know, is somebody in the CIA. Does it change my mind? No, I still won't work for him. No, would you ever run for any elected position or office? Probably not. Yeah, I'm certain that I'm going to miss something. Do I think a general strike is actually viable? I do, under the right circumstances, and I think we're near them. What languages do I speak? I'm passable in a whole bunch. I haven't used them lately, so I would say Spanish and Russian is what I would stick to, is saying I can speak those. And I would learn it. If you're looking to learn languages, you're going to have to find something that works for you. For me, it's literally children's books. This is what works best for me. And there's a computer program called Duolingo that uses like the little cartoons. Not a paid endorsement. Just think they're cool. I'm trying to start a community network and can find resources, both material and intellectual, but won't be able to physically participate 60 hours a week. How do I go about starting that in rural Kentucky? That's going to be hard. You're going to have to find the people who don't have the resources but have the time, and that's going to take time, which sounds like something you don't have. You're going to have to use social media on that one and find people who are willing to help if you supply the resources. How do we get mainstream politics away from sound bites and closer to elevating the public conversation? You got to stop watching the sound bites. You have to stop watching the sensationalized news. And until that happens on a national level, that's what it's going to be. I'm disabled and just wanted to thank you. I found you near the beginning of a couple years ago, and having someone say what I'm too weak to by the time I write events are too old. I post you daily. Thank you. Okay, my favorite source for quick notes versions of current events. Thank you. Every time I do a live stream, somebody asks me about him. He uses tactics that I wouldn't use, but I know for a fact that he's pulled people out of the alt-right pipeline. So even though they're not tactics I would recommend or I would use, he uses them and is effective with them. I don't have a problem with it. Like if it works, you can't criticize it. It doesn't matter if it's not your preferred method. And I've watched a few of his streams. He has way more patience than I ever could to deal with some of the people that he talks to. Okay. I think I'm caught back up. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. I had a little technical thing here on my phone, which is what everything comes in on. So I'm going to try to swing back through one more time, but then I'm going to have to get out of here. The way you talk is exactly why I love to listen to you. Thank you. What should we do when Trump starts suing states to stop the vote count and steal the election? I'm hoping that won't happen. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that once it hits that level, it's going to be up to, sadly, we're at the mercy of the will of the Democratic Party. And that is terrifying on some level. Thank you, Benny Rex. If you're not going to run for office, you're the right person to scout, locate, and guide those who should. That I do. that I've tried to do before. Is there anyone you recommend on YouTube who talks about UK and EU politics? Catherine and Mexi. I would look for them. I think that I think you guys can see my subscriptions. I'm subscribed to both of them. Sir Monte Crisco, thank you. Jorgen, thank you. It's okay if you can't answer. It's okay. What happened to all of those are gone. Eventually, they're going to come back though. But it's all of those videos are currently on hiatus because that channel was going to be turned into one project and now it's been turned into something else. But eventually, a lot of that's going to come back, or it may be repackaged as one giant video. Thank you, David Bean. What's your favorite food-related YouTuber? I don't know that I have one. Yeah, I'm not sure I have one. Thank you, Tim and Colleen. Thank you for your insight. Will you do a series on the Constitution? I love the way you teach. Yes, one of the long format things that we're going to do on the second channel is literally the entire Constitution, article by article. Like, we're going to go through the whole thing because there's some of the stuff I've seen lately has been offensive to my heart and soul. Just thank you from Texas. There are more of us voting Biden than they expect. It's possible. Like, I mean, I would just be amazed. I have more hope for Georgia, but if Texas flips, that I'm not going to complain. Let's see. If the violence isn't sporadic and the country breaks up, any thoughts on what happens to foreign countries will secure them? That's the thing people are talking about. Oh, we're going to reclaim, and all of this stuff. We're going to restore the country. That's not what happens. That is not what's going to happen. You will have foreign troops on the ground almost immediately. We are a nuclear power. It's not. They're not going to let it be unstable. Like there's no way that, like, if China became destabilized, the U.S. would be forced to move in because of that nuclear arsenal. And it's the same way the other way. You can't see your subscriptions. Can you feature the channels you follow and agree with so we can find them? I'll feature the channels I watch. I don't necessarily agree with everything that's said on every channel. I don't want to co-sign somebody's work completely, although I can't say that I've seen anything that Mexi or Catherine has put out that I don't agree with, other than I'm not a vegan. But that's really just a self-discipline issue on my part. I'm from just outside Charlottesville, Virginia, and Republicans keep talking about a congresswoman in her time at Terror High. I have no idea what that means. Honestly, they've made so much stuff up at this point. I can't keep up with it. I'll look into it, and if I can find something, I'll do a video on it. As a blacksmith, I'm offended by your hoodie. Yeah, there's an analogy here at some point. You have 37,000 watching and only 1,700 thumbs up. Got to get the thumbs up. It helps the channel. I did not know that. Thank you, Cherry Path. Sydney Lee, thank you. Subscribed about a month ago. Well, welcome aboard. Okay, Miranda Byrne, thank you. Okay, I think that's it. Nope. Environmental Coffee House is back. I know you're going to be busy, so I will wait till after Election Day to have you on our. Yes, please. I'm trying to get stuff lined up to go on. would you like to talk to Riley Grace? I'll talk to anybody to go on other podcasts. I've been trying to squeeze them in where I can, but I'm trying my best. All right, so let me hit the last couple ones, and then I got to get out of here. What are your thoughts on Jimmy Dore and Kyle Kalinske? I don't watch enough to have a hard opinion. Those are two people I'm asked about a lot that I don't know enough about, to be completely honest. Do you think it is bad for Trump as it feels, or you think it is bad for Trump as it feels, or are we blindly hopeful? Every day he seems more off the rails. Watching other Republicans, I think they know they're in trouble. Thank you, Low-Key Rage. Thank you, Wendell Dorsey. If Trump did try to somehow refuse to cede power in office, how could he do it? He'd have to exploit the electors. That would be the way to do it. Or he could just try to stop and not leave. But there are continuity government plans for a lot of this stuff, and they are outside of his realm. Like, he probably doesn't even know they exist. Thank you, Nancy Bo. Additional donation and repeat. What network like Feeding America lists local events and items to donate? What network like Feeding America lists local events and items to donate? I will look into it and see what I can dig up. Thank you, Anasazi. I just want to say thank you for being a big ally of my people. I try. David Wilburn. Can't see. Okay, so looks like that's it. Okay, guys. So any documents better than the Constitution? We're going to hit other documents as well. I think the Constitution provides a really good framework. I mean, no document's going to be perfect, but it's definitely in the top 5. Your videos are wonderful for people who are on the fence between logic, reason, conspiracy. Thank you. Thank you, Deb Lee. Please check out Jimmy Dore on the Tucker Carlson show. Look so red, act so blue. Thank you. Aquafunk Aquatics. What are your thoughts on? Oh, I have a video on that. Yeah, you're gonna need to watch that video because it's. I do not like fascism. The problem is a lot of the stuff that gets linked to that group isn't them. There's a lot of nuance to this conversation. I have a video on it where I'm talking about kids with purple hair and stuff. It's worth watching. A lot of people have have a lot of misconceptions about that group, and it's not a group. It's an ideology of people who, you've got kids out in the street wearing all black clothes, and you have a bunch of people who look like me. So I would look for that video. I'm sure it actually has the word fascism in the name. Okay, so that's it. Quick news at the end here at the end. We have the second channel coming. It is like actually being produced now. It's on its way. We're going to release the trailer first, and by the time the trailer goes out, we'll already have 2 full-length things made. And they will be coming pretty regularly after that. And that is Patreon sponsors. Y'all did that. Y'all made that possible, because without you guys getting the people who could put it together, getting everything that was needed, wouldn't be possible. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me today. And I will see y'all later. It's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.